Nathalie Fourdraine is an illustrator and concept artist whose contributions can be seen in titles such as Wanderstop and IDWs Sonic the Hedgehog. And in episode 130 of the Red Tunic Podcast, we talk about how they got into illustration, some words of encouragement, the game they'd make if budget didn't matter, what makes gaming enjoyable to her, their favorite games, the lightning round, their guilty pleasure games, some obscure titles, and their life outside of gaming. Before we get started, don't forget there are links in the episode description that you can follow to learn more about Nathalie as well as the podcast. Also, don't forget to like and share the episode. Without further ado, enjoy episode 130. Hi, and welcome to the Red Tunic Podcast, a podcast where I look to rediscover what makes gaming fun and enjoyable by having positive conversations with those related to the industry. My name is Link, and today I'm joined by illustrator and concept artist Nathalie Fourdraine, whose works can be found in Wanderstop as well as IDWs Sonic the Hedgehog. Hi, Nathalie, how are you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing all right. Weather's getting warmer. I can appreciate that.
You know, that's awesome to hear. I'm in Canada, and for us, we have weird days where it sometimes feels like spring. However, spring conceptually in the sense that it's still like below freezing, but it's, not very below freezing. So I can appreciate, or I'm happy that you have the warmer days coming. I can always appreciate that when it's happening for other people. For me, I think it's just a false spring or just, winter teasing us. But I'm happy for you that the warmer weather is coming and you can, leave winter.
We had a stint of like -10 a month ago, and like it had been slowly going up, which has been nice. And now suddenly we're in 50s. So I'm actually wearing a t-shirt today. It's a miracle.
I'm happy for the miracle for you. Now, Nathalie, before we get started, I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind giving me like an introduction of who you are, like kind of like the elevator pitch for the most important things that you think someone should know about you before we kind of jump into it and I start bugging you with other questions related to video games.
Yeah. Well, you did introduce basically what I do. I like to draw. I like to play video game and watch movie and listen to music, like all you fellow humans. I work on Sonic the Hedgehog, so I do enjoy Sonic the Hedgehog. I have been getting into older 90s boomer shooters. I've always been a fan of really weird 90s DOS video games. Yeah.
So thank you for that. Sorry, I'm just thinking of the fellow humans. I don't know, Nathalie. It kind of sounds like you're trying to say you're AI, and I'm worried now about who I reached out to.
Honestly, some of my friends do joke that I like this was even before like the really stupid Gen AI like started booming in the past 2 years. Like they always joke that I just don't speak like a human or type like a human, which is true. I don't. I could be an alien. You'll never know. You can't see my face. It's a Schrodinger's cat.
That's very fair. However, Obama did just put out like a tweet or a correction like today or yesterday or something that he has never seen any in his presence. So I don't think you're an alien. If that helps your cover any, I don't think you're an alien.
Well, I never met former U.S. President Barack Obama, so
all things fair. All things fair. So, but thank you for that, Nathalie. I appreciate the kind of like the 411. And I want to ask this. I'm going to ask this right out the gate. You said you like older DOS games. and you've been getting into boom shoots more recently. I'm wondering, uh, like, are the boom shoots new, or is it something you played you played when you were younger with like the DOS games, and now you're getting back to them, or is it like a new thing you've discovered that you're enjoying?
It's actually a newer thing. It's been like, oh, fall of like 2024, so yeah, a little over a year at this point, where um I basically, for reasons that were of my own like weird compulsion, I randomly gave the Ultra Kill a shot, which is, a movement shooter combined with character action game. And I was like, this is really, really fun and cool. And I have been missing out on an entire genre of this my entire life, from uh, having some, I don't know, notions or snobbish feelings or something. And yeah, no, I've just been really enjoying that. My dad played Doom like back in the day, and he's talked about that a lot, but I never actually got to watch him play it. So it's really an amusing cycle where now his kid is just cycled into playing the games that he played. I think he views it as a point of pride now whenever it was mentioned.
So thank you for sharing that. And it's absolutely wild that your your getting your feet wet is ultra kill, because ultra kill is not the game I would expect someone to get their feet wet with, because it is such a intense.
Yeah.
Intense might not be the exactly right word. However, it's not a game that doesn't throw a lot and expect a lot of you. So I'm very I'm very impressed and shocked that that was your getting your feet wet and trying out boom shoots.
Yeah, I think the craziest reasoning was like, someone had like, I guess their own AUs of like what characters in Sonic would match what characters in Ultra Kill, and I just happened to see it. I was like, this very specific niche character that I liked a lot was compared to like another character in there. So it's like, who is this? And then I just like looked a little at wiki, and then like a little at the music. Not enough that I actually like remembered much to be spoiled when playing, but there's a part it's like, I watch too many video games on YouTube. I should be better with playing things myself. And it kind of just opened a complete floodgate of. I've been playing like way more games in the past year than probably most of my life after like fifth grade. So
So, congratulations on your video game renaissance, then, I think is the way to put it. um, but no, I'm happy to hear that for you, because I can somewhat relate to that. I have a huge Steam backlog, and something I lament over is the huge Steam backlog. So like I've started just writing down the games that I play and beat, and trying to be
yeah.
more conscious of playing more of the games that I own, because I bought them. I should probably make it a goal to at least play them to the point where I feel content with the what I did, right? So like I can definitely appreciate just waking up one day and be like, I'm just going to start playing video games. Screw watching them. I can do this, because you can do this, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like, if you're just watching things instead of interacting with it in its fullest, it feels like shortchanging from life a little. Like, same thing with reading synopsis about movies or looking at them from afar rather than like just watching it yourself. Hopefully, as blind as you can make it. I don't know. It's just much more fun and enriching, at least for me, to make an effort to live that way. more recently.
You know, I can appreciate the intent behind that because yeah, it makes a lot more sense because you know you don't go in spoiled by what you know is to come or spoiled by like the actual plot twist, right?
Hmm.
Now I do want to ask you this really quick just because you mentioned Ultra Kill. Have you heard about Don't Stop Girly Pop?
I actually have that. I have the demo, and I was going to bring it up if you asked me about like any games I'm currently into. But yeah, I need to get the full one. It's out recently. I really enjoyed the demo. I like the uh, switch up with, I guess, like the movement focus. Increasing speed to increase power and whatnot. But yeah, no, I liked it a lot when I played the demo, and I'm very interested in seeing the full thing. Also, really good menu. Like I wasn't expecting the menu to be so tactile and like textury, like gumdrops and whatnot.
You know, yes, I can understand what you mean when you're like doing the dress up, I guess, or the customizations. Um, but like to me, it makes a lot of sense because it's trying to harken back to like early 2000s or late 90s, early 2000s aesthetic, and that was the weird aesthetic at the time.
Hmm. It's kind of the Y2K, a little bit of Frutiger. Is it Frutiger? Frutiger. Frutiger Arrow, and other genres within it because I know Frutiger Arrow is not the only name for that. It's a whole bunch of subdivisions. But
Oh yes, yes, I know what you mean. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, but I'm happy that you are aware of Don't Stop Girly Pop, only because you mentioned Ultra Kill. And I don't know how under the radar that one would have went, and they felt same but different, right? Um,
mm-hmm.
but anyway, we'll get back to some of the other stuff. I'm sure we'll circle back to it later. But before we do that, though, I wanted to ask how it is you got into doing concept art. And you know, let's also go with illustration. Let's see, like, let's sorry, not let's see. That sounds weird. But how did you get into doing illustration and concept art?
So it started out with an illustration first, and it was neither of these things were ever something I realized that they could be a job field. Like I just like to draw when I was younger, and as I got older, it turns out that like I went through different phases of I want to be a marine biologist, like a scuba diver. I want to be a surgeon. That's a scary thought. Or I play Phoenix Wright. I'm like a lawyer would be really cool to be, or like a fashion designer around high school when I was trying to think of like, how can I fit in with other kids? But all of those things I got interested in. The one continuing link was that I kept drawing what it would look like to do it. Um, like I I draw like diagrams of the human body, or like I draw my lawyer outfit, or fashion design. I draw like my lawyer outfit was literally Mia Fey from Phoenix Wright, but I just like changed the hair. And removed like the Magatama necklace. I'm positive it was that. And yeah, fashion design was just I'm drawing different outfits and all that. And even before then, I play games like Animal Crossing or Ocarina of Time, and I'd just be so enamored by like the little houses that you'd have or the areas in Ocarina that I just like try and make my own little fantasy town areas of the drawing. I don't know, when I was like 9 or 10. And now I look back, it's like that was just concept arting. Like uh, yeah, I mainly just kept drawing. Started doing like DeviantArt, like Earthbound, Mario RPG. I really got into around that time, so I was making tons of fan art there. Made like a bunch of fan comics, and then I went to college, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I started in graphic design. I was just kind of drawing things still, but then I got recommended to a video game like animation concept art program, and they covered like not just concept art, but modeling like ZBrush, Maya, 3ds Max at the time, um, and animating in those as well, rigging and Unity, which I don't think they're using Unity anymore in that program. I think they switched to Unreal. But then it just kind of became a much better fit. So I just ended up getting into more video game related concept art. And I really lucked out because Sonic Mania came out in like 2017. And I think I did fan art of the level Stardust Speedway from Sonic CD around that time because I always liked the aesthetic. And that fan art really blew up, and I got two emails about simultaneously. One from Joe Hughes, who was the first editor for the IDW Sonic comics that had not started yet. They were going to. And an email from Davey Reedon, who Stanley Parable guy, who was working on a new game at the time, which then later became Wanderstop. So I kind of just had like two simultaneous supernovas happen at once. It was insanely lucky, and yeah, I continued doing concept art for Wanderstop as well as covers for Sonic comics, and doing other little freelance things all around that as well. And it's kind of where I am now, just a mixture of it.
So thank you for sharing
It was a long
this.
answer. I'm sorry.
No. So I always appreciate. I'm not gonna lie. I always appreciate long answers just as much. Like I appreciate all answers, but long answers are always nice because it tells you so much, right? And not to speak ill to anyone that comes in like, well, it's just, I just wanted to make games, so I made games, right? That's still a perfectly valid and fun answer. But hearing the dots, like the 1, 2, 3, how we got to 10 kind of thing is always fascinating to me. Like how you were basically just doing your own concept art for your own life, it seems, at some point. And then for the games you enjoyed, right? So like it's really interesting to hear, in hindsight, like what you were doing and being able to say like, oh no, this is clearly what I was meant to be doing, right? Rarely does it work out that way, I've found in life and from everyone I've spoken to. But like it's always funny when sometimes it's just like, no, this is what I should be doing because that's all I've ever been doing, right?
Yeah, like my brother, about when he was 3 or 4, he just stated that he wanted to be an airplane pilot, and like that's what he had been doing for his entire life. Like that was his focus, and he's doing it. Like, but in the flip side for me, like I didn't know what I wanted to do, and the ideas I had kind of just flitted around as more of a fantasy. But then it kind of just turned out I was doing the thing that I enjoy and happens to have jobs for. So,
Which is always a beautiful thing.
yeah.
Now, I'd also like to ask this in relation to, the job that you are doing. Do you have any words of encouragement that you would like to give to yourself, like past you or for others who would be interested in kind of following in your footsteps, if that makes any sense?
Yeah. I guess one I can think of right away is just any practice is practice, like, because I know that there are schools that frown upon fan art and all that, and like doing fan art has helped me have a basis to explore many different ideas and compositions without necessarily having to get stuck on some of the subject matter. And one thing that I wish I could kind of instill in myself many years ago is just even original work is fan art in spirit. And what I mean by that is like nothing is ever purely original. Like anything people make that is original is an amalgamation of all these different things that they love. And they went, oh, what if I took this thing that I like and I mixed it with this other thing that I like and just made it my own instead of fan art this time. And when I finally started understanding that in the past year, things clicked that like friends of mine had been saying for a while now, but I kind of just understood how it feels. So I'd like to dabble more in that. And I just engage with media as much as you can. Because like I spent so much of my time really only engaging in like, and when I mean engage, I mean like watching, playing, like not just talking to people about something, but I had a very small well of inspiration. And I thought that's all I needed to keep going. Part of me even wanted to kind of see how far I could go with such a small well, which was a pretty silly idea. Like it's so much easier to think about the things you're making when you have like hundreds of different things you've experienced that you can pull from in your mind, rather than like trying to do all the work of coming up with it yourself. And don't stop drawing. keep doodling.
So thank you for that. I understand exactly what you mean. Firstly, that, engaging with media, being able to talk with people, it just expands your horizon. It expands your pool, or it takes you from like a puddle to a bucket to a pool to eventually an ocean of all of the things that you can incorporate into what it is that pushes what you're doing forward or gives you ideas to play with or to try, right? And as much as part of me in a really sadistic way likes the idea of being like, how far could I push myself with such a with a limited pool? That sounds like it would be very hard. So like, yeah, 100% engage, grow, learn, take what you can and make whatever use of it that you can, right?
Yeah. Even like I would go back to myself, be like, okay, when you were a kid and your parents were watching these movies on the TV, you should have just sat on the couch and also watched them, because then you would have known Jurassic Park in full, or Home Alone, or like Rocky 1 or whatnot. Not saying that that's like the pinnacle of branching out, but more so even like the most basic movies that are considered classics for some people, I just hadn't watched, even when it was like right in front of me. I just walk away and do something else as a kid.
So yes, I understand. Yes, I understand what you're saying. Like, if you didn't watch Home Alone, you wouldn't have ever stumbled across the weirder, more teenage version of Home Alone. I don't remember the name of it, but like it upped the violence just a fair bit. It was made like right after Home Alone hit it big.
I know what you're talking about. It's Five Nights at Freddy's.
I don't.
Sorry.
Look, I don't think Nicolas Cage was in the first one. I think he was a little young. He still might have been going by like Nicholas Coppola or what have you at the time. But Maybe it could have came after Dazed and Confused or whatever that. I think it was Dazed and Confused that he was in for the first time. But yes, Five Nights at Freddy's. That's sure. That sounds
That's
like
a teenage Home Alone, the more edgy Home Alone.
You know, you actually, yeah, you're kind of right. You're kind of right. I will concede and give that one to you. But yes, you know, I understand what you mean. The only caveat I would put is if your parents are watching adult movies and they're not stopping you from it, maybe don't watch the adult movies because that'll do like just wild damage to your mental state as a child. Like a 4-year-old doesn't need to watch Alien, right? You know, they don't need to have the terror of knowing they mostly come out at night when you're a child having to sleep in the dark room alone, right?
A friend of mine, I think he watched RoboCop when he was 4, so that was very funny.
That is a very wild, also another wild movie to watch as a 4-year-old, and not have anyone stop you. But yes, no, all those things are wonderful words of encouragement. I especially just like the short line of any practice is practice, because yeah, any practice is practice. Anything that helps you get better is good, regardless of what that thing is. Now, I do want to ask this because you highlighted that maybe this would be something you want to talk about when we were getting started, as well as, you know, related to the recent news. So I'll let you kind of lead the way with this. However, if you were given the opportunity to create any game or what have you, with like, you know, you had the freedom to do it, what game would that be and why?
I would definitely want Engine Angel to be real. Like I would want to gather the band back together of Ivy Road, like you know, one of those movies that is not coming to mind right now, but
Five Nights at Freddy's, I think.
Five Nights at Freddy's, yes. Get the band back together, Chica, Bonnie, Freddy, Foxy. But yeah, I like the concept of for those who don't know, Engine Angel is a prototype game that we at Abbey Road were working on and trying to get publisher funding. And it is basically a character action car game. So it's got the controls of a car game where like you've got accelerate and brake button on the shoulder, but then your face buttons are like jumping and like regular attack, special attack, and additional dodge movements and whatnot. And yeah, you're fighting. You are an angel possessing a car, basically, with 2 people driving, a lesbian couple, and you're fighting other angels possessing other forms of vehicles and technology to get worship from other humans, because angels are like, oh, well, people are standing in traffic all the time in these cars and like devoting their lives to it. That must be worship, right? We need worship. I'd love to make that real as a team. And as my single answer, I'd really like to make a Myst-like game, first-person point-and-click, where you're in like, I don't know, a haunted house or something that feels kind of atmospheric and eerie, but it's about like the exploration, the character of the room. Always been a big fan of those. I've kind of had an idea in my mind since like 2017, but I felt more inspired to think, well, I should just be learning how to do this myself instead of waiting for someone else to do it.
So yes, I understand. To the latter, I understand exactly what you mean. As well as sometimes I'm trying to think of the right way to put this. Sometimes you don't want to play your whole hand with someone that might know how to do it as well if you're trying to get a different band together and then have them run off with it, right? Like, like I don't say that negatively to anyone you might have worked with or what have you. It's just I know from my own personal life that the hesitation, reluctance, or what have you, because of that fear, is always going to be a hard thing. You're like, I'll eventually do this myself. And, hopefully that day comes for you where you are in a position to do the miss that you've kind of had in your mind for years and years now. So, however many years. I'm bad at math right now. But hopefully that day comes for you and you're in a position where you're able to do that. Because Myst, I grew up shortly after Myst came out. It's like when I was really into games. Windows 95 is the first Myst I played. So I'm very much from that era of all of the Myst coming out in all sorts of different shapes and forms. And I still really like the idea of them. So hopefully such a thing can be a reality for you one day as well as for Engine Angel. Because I understand when you get to work with people and you're generating excitement and all and everything that goes along with it, and you just the cards weren't right or the stars didn't align or what have you. So my sincere apologies, sympathy, empathy, sympathy is the right word. Sorry for that, because that's hard, that's rough, and hopefully in the future, you get a chance to get the band back together, so to say.
Yeah, I really hope so. Everyone I worked with on it was wonderful. Shout outs to Liz, who came up with the whole idea for it. Card character action game with lesbians driving it, amazing.
That is absolutely a wild concept. That's absolutely a wild concept. So yeah, shout out to Liz for such a wild bloody concept. And yes, I also agree that if there were any new age angels and they saw how much, especially in North America, I don't know about Europe, but they saw how much people supposedly worship cars, that they would 100% think it's something to be a part of or what have you, right? It makes sense. But yeah, my fingers will be crossed in both cases for you, because I like to hear about people getting to do the things that they enjoy, and I always hope that people can do the things that they enjoy, even drilling down on it, not high level. I always like to hear even more so when it's you're working on a passion project, something that you really love and believe. So I wish for the best for both of those at some point in the future, and it's unfortunate that point wasn't now. Sorry, I'm always really worried about how I come off and how to properly approach these things. So my fingers are crossed.
Yeah, you're all good. You're all good. I appreciate it.
Now, not to intentionally now just hard kick to an entirely different topic. However, there's no easy way to transition from A to B here. But I am curious, because you said you were getting into DOS games. You said you kind of, watched your dad play some Doom games when you were younger, games when you were younger, Doom being one of them, Sonic games, what have you. I'm wondering what it is that you find most enjoyable about games today.
I love the variety. This is, again, something I only really started realizing in the past year, but just you can just make things. You can make whatever you want, and it's a representation of who you are as a person, a piece of you or a whole bunch of you, whether you intend to or not. Games are made of your thoughts, about the world, about yourself, about how you interact with others, and they all kind of come through in games. And just seeing the amount of things that people will take something and reinvent it this way, or they'll reinvent it that way, or then someone will take that reinvention and reinvent it 3 different ways with other people. And I I've really just gotten into like the lower fidelity aspect of it too. That it's not just about the dressing of the game, but more so the actual like skeleton of it. And yeah, just I don't know. I'm kind of in love with how it's just a form of art. You know, it's like making an illustration, but I would say way more sweat and tears than at least the illustrations I've made. I can't speak for everyone, but I you don't have to program your illustrations.
Now, Natalie, would it shock you to know that there is actually a drawing program of sorts, some air quotes around this, that is something you can program to do your illustrations for you? Not AI, not AI.
Well, I didn't program Clip Studio Paint or Photoshop, but unless this is something else I don't know of.
No, this okay. So this is 100% something you. I'm a lot of people aren't aware of it. My tongue tying there is because so basically it was you can basically just program and tell it what kind of drawings to do and where to do them and such, and it will do stuff on the screen. It's been a long while since I've played with it. I can't speak too much to it because of that. But yeah, it was effectively you could program a drawing, and the easiest way to describe it.
Huh, interesting. And this is like many years back. Like this was pre like the generative AI kind of slop stuff, or
This would have been what year? We're 2026. This would have been about 2010, 2011 that I came across this. So it's
I could see it because like. Sorry, go on.
Oh no. I was gonna say it's similar to like how you can program music by giving it like the sine waves and telling it what kind of beats and numbers and whatever to use. But anyway, you were about to say, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was connecting those kinds of dots too, like because digital art files like Photoshop, Clip Studio Paint, all that, like art is essentially just made of pixels individually, and it's just saving the data for each pixel placed on that image in layers of those. So yeah, it would make sense if you just typed in code that said do this here, here, and here. You just had it automate that. You could theoretically make a whole picture without the actual technical skill of drawing if you have like the visual skill of knowing what you want. That is interesting.
I honestly wish I could remember the name of it, but it's, it's like 3 computers ago at this point almost, or a lifetime ago, basically. It's over 10 years. So like, I unfortunately don't remember much more than opening it up, playing with it, going, this is painful, and then never touching it again. I'm like, I made a line draw, right? I did more than that, but I'm like, okay, this is insane. But yeah, such a thing does exist. Would it be usable? That's not for me to decide.
Yeah, to me, like obviously I don't know enough about it, but to me, like the joy of it is just the act in itself of like drawing things. Like the hardest parts are sometimes coming up with the actual thumbnail composition and drawing all those out, and I often have periods of misery there where I'm just like, this cool idea in my head I cannot make work physically, however I'm drawing it, and like eventually I get to some kind of compromise or solution in there that I feel good about. But then when it comes to like the actual process of just painting everything, I take joy in that journey of it.
That makes perfect sense, right? Like I've never been someone that's good at drawing. So like I can thumbnail, I can do like the thumbnail concept stuff and be happy with whatever little scratchy nonsense I can do. But like,
Mhm.
I can definitely understand the joy of going all the way to the finish line, so to say, right? Because, you know, especially if like illustration and such, you get to see what you're doing as it comes to life, and you get to you get to experience it as it's being born. That is a weird thing to say, I'm aware. However, I think you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I getcha. Like, in a similar vein, for me, it feels like I'm for a week or 2 weeks or however long it takes for me to make whatever I'm working on. I get to live in that environment. Basically, I get to think through whatever scenario I am painting, and it is kind of escapism of whatever I'm doing in regular life. I can go on the computer and start making, or not just making some, go back into that world that exists. And yeah, it then when you finish it, you're kind of done with that world, and then you eventually want to make another world and live in it, and so on and so forth, which I feel like Mist is kind of about that also,
Um,
vaguely.
Book worlds, yeah, yeah, very similar in concept. Yes, I would agree. Uh, but no, thank you. That's that's what like that's great to hear. The that you enjoy the everything of it, right? Um,
Hmm.
Now I am curious about this because like you already touched on, what got you like at the end of the day, looking back, like what got you into it. That you were more or less concept arting as you went. Finally had a name for it or what have you. But
Hmm.
I'm wondering if you have any like favorite games and what those favorite games might be and what makes them,
Oh.
held up in your life.
Favorite game is so hard.
It very much is,
Because
isn't it?
it feels like name your favorite child, like you. uh, oof.
By all
I
means,
have,
if you want to say a handful of games,
yeah,
that's
I do have
also
a
a very valid
handful.
answer.
I do have a handful, and like some of them are more recent than others. While some are like way further back. Obviously, since I brought up at the beginning, like I will say, Ultra Kill is pretty freaking awesome. Um, like it's such a perfect blend of arcade with like narrative and creative level design and visuals all wrapped in one. Like, and it's just simplistic. It feels. I know you said earlier it's like overwhelming in a sensory way, just from like the amount of everything that's happening. And I guess I just like the simplistic package and what it presents that in. Like it's kind of a absurd game, and it just really asks you like, what do you want to do? How do you want to have fun in a sandbox with a very simple objective of kill all the enemies. Next room, do the same, but you know we're going to be a little evil to you in some of these rooms too, which uh, yeah, and narratively, a lot of the narrative meant a lot to me and helped kind of reshape the way I approach things. So I could talk so much about it, but this is not a stream about that one game, so I'll move to see. Metroid Prime 1 is a game I grew up with, probably like 8 or 9 years old, and it didn't immediately click, but then it did click, and I just think that's such a smart game. It's way more of like a puzzly kind of first person shooter rather than like real pure action adrenaline the way I describe like other FPS games I've played in more recent time. But it does feel like first person shooter missed to me, just in that it dunks you in a desolate place and expects you to just go around and find out what you want. The scan visor is such a genius idea, because for players who don't care about that stuff, they can skip it. But for players who want to learn more about the environment, like, they've got a whole buffet. I'll try to keep it faster on these.
Take as much time as you want, honestly. It's all good for me.
I'm tied between Metroid Fusion and Zero Mission. Like, Metroid had 3 games come out all the same time, but Zero Mission is like butter. It plays so smoothly. It's a slick game. Fusion, like, it's stalking narrative, like, the whole homage to, like, The Thing, because Metroid's already, it's very alien inspired, but then they put a little more of, like, The Thing in there, with a little bit of aliens at the end, and the SAX is great. Like, what a scary new addition to put in there. Character action. I really, really liked Devil May Cry 3. I only played it recently, back in the fall, but I see it, like, Danny DeVito, the image, like, I understand now. It's wonderful. I love how much of a closed box it is in terms of, like, the world. Like, you are just in this tower, and we're going to explore all this damn tower, and twist it around, and reuse elements in, like, more of a creative way than the way that felt like, oh, okay, they've run out of time and budget. Devil May Cry 4, fantastic movement. I honestly need to get back in and play more of the characters that I unlocked, because I only dabbled a little. Obviously, it's a rush game, so, like, the actual level structure, not as great. But the movement is wonderful. Advancement of 3. I haven't played 5 yet. I feel like if I had played 5, I probably would have said it here, considering what everyone has said. Mist and Riven, like, I've talked about it enough. I love turning environments into characters, essentially. Just kind of being alone, plop somewhere, and you just have to figure things out. Let's see. I've got a few more in mind. Majora's Mask, I think you'll appreciate this one. It feels like such an interesting remix. It almost feels like a farming sim game, in that, like, how in Stardew you've got your main game loop, but then you can go to dungeons and whatnot, or maybe I'm thinking of Harvest Moon. I will admit my knowledge about farming sims is not too specific, but Majora's Mask kind of feels like it's this whole time life sim happening, but also you've got this more actiony dungeon puzzle solving side to it. Like, it feels like a giant buffet of so many different things, and it's in this, like, kind of moody, like, atmosphere that, like, in my opinion, feels rebellious to Ocarina and, like, other general Zelda, like, oh, you're the hero, you must save the day. Like, Majora's Mask is like an opposite. Oh, instead of the prophecy coming true, you're supposed to stop the prophecy. Whereas, like, Ocarina is all about, you are the prophecy, Link. You make your role come true. Everyone's got a role. Like, I definitely read Majora as, like, all right, tired of roles. We're destroying the prophecy. We're making sure that this thing does not happen. I really appreciate just that switch up. Just a few more. Clock Tower, Super NES. Like, quintessential scary, like, haunted house point and click game. Just the atmosphere is so quiet, eerie. It grates on you after a bit. They Breathe is a frog game where it's only 20 minutes long and you're just swimming down deep within water, and I sincerely recommend playing that. Really good mechanics tied with its narrative. And then last, Sonic Adventure 1, the classic. Sonic Adventure 2 is great. I think 1 edges out above because it just has like this joy and whimsy of the older classic games, but just in a 3D format. And you could tell that when they made that game, like they were aiming for the moon and beyond with like their physics system and having 6, technically 7 playable characters and like this huge narrative storyline on top of it all. Like, yeah, I really admire just that kind of cool, slick feeling the Dreamcast era Sega games in general had. So yeah, that was my incredibly long answer, but thank you.
You know, so a few things that I want to touch on from that big list. That was not a shot. I want to be very clear. You know, mentioning Devil May Cry 3, 4. I'm wondering, have you touched or looked into Bayonetta? I know that they're primarily for the Switch now, but
I got stuff to say about Bayonetta later if you ask about it.
That is ominous. Maybe off mic or off recording I'll ask about it.
It's not too bad. It's not too bad.
Oh, okay.
I enjoyed my time.
Okay. You know, I think that's probably like the most important thing is if you enjoyed your time with it, regardless of how conflicted you might feel about it. Like I have games where I feel conflicted about enjoying my time with it, right? I can understand if that is where you were coming from, like the direction you're coming from, I can relate. I can understand and feel that. But I think the pedant, not the pedant, maybe the pedant in me, when you were talking about you not knowing if it was Stardew or Harvest Moon, that would probably be more Rune Factory, which is an offshoot of Story of Seasons / Harvest Moon.
Yeah, I think I'm a Rune Factory. Like there was just something in mind where it's like there's a farming sim game where you've got that whole loop, but then you just have like a whole separate game you can play too. So, yeah, probably that one.
But I understand completely what you're meaning by like how it can feel that way, because Majora's Mask, everyone kind of felt like they had a life because it was only those 3 days and it was on a loop, but because it was constrained to knowing this, they were able to give everyone like breathing physicality in the world. I think the word I think to use for this is vermislitude. I butchered that word. It's it's basically like just the sense of something being lived in, that like it's a place that exists. Oh man, I forget how to spell it all, everything. The appearance of being true or real is the like kind of what the word is. I'm gonna paste it for you so you can have the actual spelling.
Yeah, I didn't know this word. Oh, verisimilitude. Okay.
Yeah, it's brutal to pronounce for me at least. But yeah, I understand completely what you're meaning for Majora's Mask, because you know it feels real. Like those kind of games are always nice when they pull that off. Because like it's nice when a game feels like it's lived in, right? Like the store, the NPC for the store goes home and has dinner with his wife and kids instead of just standing in the same place for all day, every day, whatever, right?
Yeah, I think the inn in Majora's Mask always stood out to me. It's like this little area. It had like this kitchen area in the back that had a cute little stream going through it, and I don't know why that always stuck out to me. Yeah, there's just a lot of quietness in the game. Like, you do kind of see the buildings as like the actual buildings people exist in, whereas Ocarina is like, I will find this NPC here. Like, it, Hyrule Castle Town like did not have nearly the same feeling of just kind of existing and waiting that Majora had. And I know it's not for everyone, but I definitely appreciated it.
Yes, I understand what you mean, and not being for everyone, but like for me personally, it was my favorite of the two for the 64 era. Just because it felt, it had a very different vibe to it. And, I don't know how much this rhetoric gets tossed around today, but some of the rhetoric that was tossed around early after Ocarina of Time came out was that it was basically just Link to the Past but 3D, which in a sense it very much just was Link to the Past but in 3D. Told a similar story that as well, but like, I know that's a subjective take and what have you, but like at the time when I was younger, I really enjoyed Link to the Past, and as much as I enjoyed Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask came along and it was a wildly different game than the last two Zelda that I enjoyed, right? So I can definitely understand that one being a favorite because it's a fantastic game, as well as so many other picks on your list are fantastic games. Like the GBAs or the Metroids on the Game Boy. Both of them, yeah. I think a lot of lists when I look at them, they do what you do. They don't like, no, we're just Metroids. It's just Metroids. We're not going to try and pick a favorite. Just play them both. They're like 2 hours long. Just play them both. Enjoy them. Metroids.
The fusion suit, I think, is the best suit, actually. I know it's not as iconic, but it is a very slick suit.
It's an interesting suit, right? Because it's organic. Because so much of it is based around like the enemy that you're fighting and whatnot. But yes, both of those are great games. I too liked Fusion more because I think Zero Mission was just the original one remade or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, Zero Mission is like, it doesn't have as much of the narrative oomph that I get from Fusion, but it still has good moments. It's just like a very good gameplay experience.
Yes. So yeah, I think it's more, from my opinion has always been, if you wanted more classic or regular quote unquote Metroid for the time, Zero Mission is probably going to be the one you like more. If you wanted to experience something that was Metroid but different, Fusion was going to be the one that like spoke more to you, right?
Yeah, I remember just feeling a lot more on edge being a kid playing Fusion, kind of being brought through that story. It's funny. Super Metroid is like a wonderful game, but it's never fully clicked for me like those have. I think it's the controls very specifically. Like, they're very floaty.
I'll take your word for it. It's been a while since I played the Super Metroid game, so I can't quite place it. Actually been a while since I played a Metroid game in general, so I'll take your word on it. It's the best way I can put it. I just can't remember. But Natalie, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I do want to kind of start working us towards the door. However, if you will humor me, I do have like a few more questions to bug you about if you'll allow me to steal time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
Fun.
I'm always happy to hear that. So the first thing I'm going to do, before I ask before I ask one of my closing questions, I'm going to hit you with the lightning round. So as I had mentioned before we got started, that these are lighthearted, nonsensical, and a little random. So feel free to answer them as quickly as you'd like. There's no judgment. Answer them as short as you like as well. They are random, so like you're free to just go nuts, so to say, with whatever I give you. So, And as I mentioned before we got started, that this is one I like to ask everyone because it's my favorite right now. Which video game character do you think wants uppies from a goth dommy mommy?
Oh. Whew. I don't know, the Shirmia Battler from Umineko. That's not really a game, it's a visual novel, but I could, like, that's kind of the whole story, I want to say.
The whole story is he just wants uppies from a goth dummy mommy.
Have you seen the Golden Witch Beatrice?
I have not, but I will trust you on that.
I guess also Ethan from Resident Evil 8, probably.
Yes, most probably. I don't think anyone will fight you on that one. Which video game character do you think is most likely to floss right before going to the dentist and then lie about it?
Something. The world has ruined my brain because he said most likely to floss, and I thought of the dance before the actual dental thing. I mean, as a person, I'm very likely to floss right before the dentist and pretend I've been doing it the whole time. Who would do this? Who would do this? I think Dante could. I think Dante would do that.
You know, fair enough. And now I am going to also throw this one out there. You do know the dentist knows you're lying to them, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
I can't lie to them. I'm a bad liar too. Like, don't play against being Among Us unless you want to feel really bad.
It wasn't me, guys. I swear. I only pressed the button once.
I was in the plant area.
Yeah, just general. I was over not where you didn't see me. I was with my girlfriend. She's from another city, high school.
I was with my magical witch.
One more lightning round for you. Which video game character do you think is most likely to put orange juice over their cereal?
Oh, gosh, do people do that?
Psychopaths, maybe.
Dr. Eggman.
Sure. Fair enough. He is crazy.
I feel like you go, it's how I think best when I make my inventions.
Yes. If especially if we're channeling the early '90s Sonic cartoon.
Can't take over the world without my vitamin C.
If they made Sonic, they probably did make Sonic cereal back then. But if they had the foresight, they probably would have made that a pitch. They wouldn't have did it with orange juice over, but you know what? Orange juice on the side, right? You're going to drink it anyway. Might as well mix it in.
I'm shocked that Sonic never did a collaboration with Cheerios back in the day. Like the rings, it's literally rings. It was right there.
You know, I too am very shocked that it took until the last 10 or so years for them to do Sonic cereal. Just, you're right. It's right there. It's right there. Cheerios, it's right there.
I think Pac-Man would also do the orange over cereal because Power Pellets are essentially oranges.
Fair, and he like Kirby would probably just eat it and be on with his day. Just it's all going to the same place. It's all going to end up in the stomach. Who cares, right? Now, I did want to ask you this, as I said, I'm working towards turning on the lights. However, if you're game for a few more questions, I'm going to ask you a few more. And you said you wanted to talk about your guilty pleasure game. So by all means, please, like, what kind of guilty pleasures do you have in gaming right now?
So, on the topic of Pac-Man, Pac-Man 2: The New Adventures is a sadistic game, but it brings me so much joy to put it onto other people. My guilty pleasure is torturing other people with Pac-Man 2: The New Adventures. Um, I also like playing Pac-Man World 1. It's a perfectly cromulent 3D platformer of the day, but it's charming. Um, I've got a few more, but
So,
do you have any thoughts on Pac-Man 2?
so here's the thing. I did not have an issue with Pac-Man 2. I rented it numerous times.
Wow.
I didn't know what the hell I was doing 90% of the time because it is essentially a point and click where you are fighting with the AI to do what you want to do, because Pac-Man just fights you every step of the way most of the time, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it was a fantastic game. I just didn't have an issue with it. I found it very interesting. It was a very interesting experience.
I think the genre needs to be revitalized. I think this is what gaming is missing.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I would love to see. So there was there's a game that was in development by oh man, I forget his name. He's working on the Madness series now. But before Madness, he was a Newgrounds guy. He made
Mhm.
Blockhead, and he was making a Blockhead game, and he was making it so when you were making Blockhead do things, he would fight you on it sometimes and just get distracted because you were supposed to be his conscious, and he would ignore you and go and cause havoc. So I just remembered this, but I think there is definitely space for a game like that in the world, because that's an interesting concept that I would like to see explored, basically.
I've been meaning to play Disco Elysium, and I get the feeling that that's also the gameplay system, unless I'm wrong.
So from what I've experienced, I played a bit, I got distracted, I didn't get back to it. From what I played of it, there is a level of you don't know what your options are going to actually do. It's not as bad
Mhm.
as Telltale's Wolf Among Us, where someone's
I
like
was
sad.
just gonna say it wasn't a glass him situation, was
Yeah,
it?
it's. I don't want to say it's as bad as Beer Him in the sense of, oh yeah, I'll give him a beer and then you bottle the dude. But from what I played of Disco Elysium, there definitely is some options that you push, and then you go, oh, that did not go the way I went, and it just goes wild in a fantastic way. So, kind of. But Disco Elysium is just a wild game in general.
Yeah.
Like, you just got to kind of surrender yourself to it as you're playing. That was how I felt.
Yeah, I'll have to get to that one day. I guess other guilty pleasure games I have are like pretty much any Sierra game. They're so mean, but they bring me joy in their meanness. Like LucasArts games are meant for people to enjoy and be happy with and laugh, and that's fine. But Sierra games are meant to make you cry from anger and losing all of your progress from an instant death scenario you could have never predicted. Um, like one of my favorites. Do you know the game Lorabo 2?
No, I don't.
It's basically point and click from the 90s. It's a detective game where you're trying to solve a series of deaths that are happening around you in a museum that you're locked in at night. And like all Sierra games, there are many ways to die, but it has the extra part of you have to be gathering evidence the entire game, because at the very end, you get tested on like who are all the different criminals for who did what, and like were you actually eavesdropping on people, were you paying attention, and even if you know the right answers, you still need to have the evidence that you picked up. And if you're lacking like either of those things, the ending you get, whereas normally it's like, where are they now with all the characters, the cast? It gives you a version of that where it's like, this guy lost his job. This guy got mugged on the street and died because of you and curses your name. This guy's a ghost now and he's haunting you. Your dad has gone clinically insane because because of the thing that happened to you later. Your lover is in grief, and then like the very end is just you sleeping in bed, and then like the killer that you didn't catch just comes in and like Tommy guns you, and it's just like the most insane bad ending. Like I showed my friends it the other day when I was playing it for them. They were just appalled by it.
That just sounds like Sierra. Yes, I understand completely.
It's Sierra.
Yeah, I understand completely what you're saying. It's Sierra. Yep.
It's like the horror soft 90s point and click games like Waxworks and the two Elvira games. They're evil, but you know, I do love a good scary dungeon crawler. At least from afar. I feel like if I played them, I'd just be way too angry. A few more SpongeBob Super Sponge for the PS1 childhood game. It's not very good. It's like Sonic and I guess Mario combined. It's got a ring mechanic, but not great. I still liked it as a kid. It has a surprisingly good soundtrack. If look up the SpongeBob Super Sponge PS1 soundtrack, you will be moderately surprised. Aoni, good guilty pleasure horror game. A big blue guy is running around you in a haunted mansion, so better go clean those piano keys and find codes. Dark Seed 2 is amazing. If you haven't looked at Dark Seed 2, it's god level writing and cutscenes. And then these last two games are like, they're good games, but I know that I'm going to get mad and punished when I play them. Sonic CD, love Sonic CD. Its level design is painful and I will get mad every time. Fear and Hunger 2 is a fantastic game. Every time I play it, I'm like, well, there's no way I'm winning this time, but may as well spin the roulette. Other people can do it because they have incredible patience. But I love the atmosphere of it.
You know, Fear and Hunger, that's a game series I've meant to try and look into more. And I'm aware that it's, you know, painfully difficult, and anything I've ever seen is absolutely insane. Insane's a good word.
Yeah, insane. Cruel,
yeah. So like, you know, hearing it's a guilty pleasure game sets a level of expectations for me if I'm to try. So thank you for that. Now I also want to ask you this one before I hit you with the true wrap up. What is a Sorry, I just blanked for some reason. And I don't know why I blanked. I don't know what's happening to my head right now. Oh wow, this rare has happened.
It's the asbestos.
Yeah, it's this ceiling asbestos finally getting to me.
I warned you about the ceiling asbestos.
But you had mentioned that you also want to talk about obscure games, so I'm wondering, were those also the obscure games, or did you have other obscure games you want to make sure people knew existed?
Those are like obscure, painful games. Very, very quick, deep cuts I have. I mentioned They Breathe as like a favorite. It's a wonderful 20-minute game. Play They Breathe. There's like sad frogs on the cover. 3D Monster Maze is like possibly, it's like a really old Apple game from, I think the 80s rather than the 90s. I've got to check. Shockingly effective with its scariness. It's incredibly simple. Let me find an image for you. Yeah, here we go. This is an image. Like, it looks
Wow.
all goofy in this, but the entire time you're going around, you actually can't see the monster. You just have text at the bottom screen going like, footsteps approaching, Rex is looking for you, Rex is hunting for you, Rex has seen you, or possibly the worst one, he is beside you, run. In like bolded letters. And when you see it in front of you, then you're gonna die. So like you don't even get to see too much of the actual dinosaur itself, but like it kind of just sums up everything that makes me scared ever. Let's see. At dead of night, you're gonna notice a trend. A lot of games I bring up are like first person point and click. At Dead of Night was made by the composer for Plock, Tim Fallon. Plock is a great soundtrack. If you haven't listened to it, you should. At Dead of Night is like, it's scary because the way you move around this hotel that you're trapped in is like you're darting around corners rather than just standing in the middle of a hall when you click the different points. Shockingly effective, really cool FMV game. And Bad Mojo. It's a 90s game where you are transformed into a cockroach, and as a cockroach, you crawl around an apartment, and it's disgusting, but it's very imaginative game. If you have a strong enough stomach for it, then I recommend looking at that. Mr. Bones is an art form. It's not a good game, but it is an art form. Mr. Bones for, I think, the Sega Saturn. Wonderful soundtrack. And go on, sorry.
No, sorry. Please continue.
Kingdom of Magic is a third-person point-and-click. Very satirical, I think, on like Lord of the Rings in particular. I found it pretty funny for the most part, which like is kind of shocking sometimes because usually I find the humor in a lot of these point-and-click games back then very cheesy. Like you can tell they're trying too hard. Weirdly felt like Monty Python writing at some points. And then two childhood favorites, Bionicle Matanui Online and SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. Both actually pretty good.
So thank you for that list. And, you know, I want to say for anyone that's curious, just Google 3D Monster Maker. And you'll see like the original, the original screenshots, and it's comical that that would still be suspenseful, but it's comical of what you're running from, because it is very much like a digipet T-Rex that's chasing you kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's just hilarious to me that, that games, sometimes it's not about, you talked about like earlier, but kind of like the not the hyper realistic or what have you. And that's like, it's, you can play these games that you don't need to see a lot or have good, what have yous, good graphics, because like it's more about the aesthetic or about like the feeling it's going to give you. And knowing that these kind of games probably do a good job at it is fantastic. Bad Mojo though, that one I did a quick look. That's a wild. That looks wild. So
they took a real cockroach and they like they took pictures of it from different angles. It's an FMV cockroach you're playing as, not even a 3D model. It's kind of incredible, the artistic effort in that game.
Yes, it looks like it looks like it would be a thing though. So yeah, you can also look at Bad Mojo if you want to have a shocking first response on like Google Images, like, oh wow, that's what this game's about. I think it says it all right there. But Natalie, as I said, I do want to work you towards the door. I do want to let you get on with your Monday evening. However, before I do that, I do want to ask, outside of gaming, what do you enjoy doing? What do you do to relax?
Oh, I had to do a topic like this in a speech class, and I floundered so badly. I like walking around. Was it specifically outside of gaming or sorry?
Outside of gaming, and now
Okay.
wow, I'm stumbling over myself. I usually preface with, and if what you do to relax is just gaming, by all means, that's perfectly fine and acceptable as well. But I also like to ask outside of that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just enjoy hanging out with my friends on calls. I learn so many different things just from kind of, messing around. Like I learned of a 1920s short film that is entirely just dogs dressed in like suits and football gear playing a football game, American football game, kind of incredible from stuff like that. I just kind of like walking around outside, just enjoying the environment, a little bit of people watching, dabbling into listening to more music, and yeah, like drawing, usually related to that. Yeah, just I guess why I put it like that, like it's it's pretty simple. There aren't too many crazy things I do.
Now, and that's never a bad thing, right? Like, that's never a bad thing. I most people I speak to, and I don't mean this in any negative way. It's the simple things that they're doing. It's not anything big, not anything grand, and that's also why I like to ask that question, just because if you look on social media for a lot of stuff, I'm not saying for developers, but just in people in general, you're always going to see like the curated list of things that they want you to see that they're doing. And that's generally going to be more exciting or whatever, right? And that's usually unrealistic about just people in general. So like, yeah, that's one of the reasons I like to ask that, because, people are people, and like if you enjoy hanging out with your friends and watching movies and doing art and going for walks, that's perfectly valid. I say that as if I'm giving you some form of approval or what have you, but you know what I mean. Like, that's just what we do, and that's it's just nice to hear what you enjoy doing outside of having to do your job. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I should try and put more effort into like actually traveling. It is intimidating to do when you haven't done it in a good bit, like actual airplane travel and all that. I usually tend to just stick around the hourish perimeter from where I live, but maybe I should do more conventions with friends. That would be fun. Maybe I should talk to people
About the
maybe I should
convention
do that.
market?
Oh, about the convention market?
Well, you said do more conventions, talk to people. I assumed those two things went hand in hand, but you just mean talk to people in general?
That too, yeah. Sorry, I misinterpreted convention market, and I thought more of like a board member of people talking about the marketing of conventions. It's like, I don't want to talk in that. No, yeah. The few times I've been to a convention with friends, I went to San Diego Comic Con 2 years ago. with a few of the other IDW folks who are my very good friends. I do have to say, it is overwhelming, and it kind of feels like you can't give everyone like their proper, greeting, because it's like it's hard for them. It's this incredible moment where they get to talk to this person they've seen, and then for me, it's like I don't know them, so the most I can go like, oh, yeah, that's awesome. Like I'm so happy for you. Like, and then you only have like a minute to do so before the line attendant is like, okay, leave. Like, oh, well. But I feel like if I did smaller conventions, there'd be more of that actual conversational factor.
So I cannot speak to this from personal experience, but I can speak to this because I've asked someone about this because I've always been curious about how the convention stuff works. And they said to me that, they like they're aiming to do smaller ones as well, but they enjoy for themselves being able to have that conversation with people, not to feel like it's, oh, you get a minute, go, you get a minute, go, you get a minute, go. Not to say like some people like they're doing that because that's what they tolerate, but the system is set up sometimes in bigger spaces where it's literally, it's like, no, you get a minute, go. Like you can say hello, you say whatever, get the thing signed, and go. This is all that the convention itself has set up to do. So like, I definitely understand why you'd want to be able to like make that connection and why that 1 minute would be stressful because, from the person I spoke with, they enjoy getting to hear and talk to people, right? Like that's something they really enjoy, getting to interact with the fans. So, from what I've heard or what I understood, the smaller ones are probably going to be more relaxed and chill about letting you do that than trying to do the big ones where it's going to be like the line attendant is like, we've got 100 people and you got 40 minutes. Go, 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 right?
Yeah, I always feel bad because I feel like I'm shortchanging people like the few times I've ever done it, when there's like big crowds and they're just like the line has to keep going, it has to keep going. Yeah, I'd like to do smaller things, like kind of looking at, I think MomoCon I've heard is really fun. Like that. Luckily, I have friends who do go to conventions way more. That they're like, oh, this is usually a really fun one. This one is kind of big and not as fun. So I'd like to do a little more of that.
So, you mentioned doing more traveling, having to get on a plane. This might be the call to do that adventure. And either way, though, regardless of if those are connected, my fingers will be crossed for you that you'll get to explore both of those avenues because, it's always fun getting to meet and talk with new people, right?
Yeah, as right now, I really appreciate all of this.
Yes, as of right now, getting to meet and talk to you has also been a blast. Now, Natalie, sorry.
I was gonna say, as I talk for like 40 minutes to answer one question, I appreciate the patience in that.
Look, I'm going to be honest, and this isn't meant to be a shot at anyone. I know it. I know opening that way sounds like it could be. I've asked one person what I thought would be a throwaway question once, and 50 of the 60 minutes then became that one question because they had a tighter schedule. So yeah, it's all good. I'm happy that you're here talking with me and getting to have fun with you while talking about the things we're talking about. So like 40 minutes for a single question, by all means, I'm okay with it. Hopefully whoever's listening, I hope you're okay with it too, listener. I'm going to call you John right now. Just statistically,
John listener.
Yeah, statistically, John is a name that works a lot. But Natalie, as I've said, I do want to let you get on with your evening. I do want to let you have some more wind down because I believe this is a day off for you in the States. I don't know off the top of my head. Being Canadian and all.
I think it is. I'm gonna be honest. I've gotten worse with keeping up with what days are vacations. I feel like once you get released from high school, you kind of forget what is a vacation and what isn't.
That is a very real answer. Yes. But
it's like, well, I've still been working on this day, or everyone else around me is still working, and may as well be a
yeah,
not vacation day.
yes, it's one of those things where it's kind of like when you first get out of school, you're like, wait, I have to work during the summer? Like, yeah, your parents always did. Well, I just didn't think I'd have to. It's like, well, okay. Sweet summer child, get to work.
I mean, that's even lucky. Like, some high school students do have to work during the summer or during high school.
Yes, that as well. You know, the lucky ones that have to have the wake up call after high school. That no, you can work. There's things you have to do, responsibilities.
The lucky ones, child labor. Woo!
In my case, it gave me video game money, so yeah, I was okay with it. But Natalie, as I've said, I do want to let you get on with your day. I do want to let you relax and have your evening to yourself. So with that in mind, if there wasn't anything else you did want to talk about, or if there was anything else you did want to discuss, like a cool game, what you're doing, something you feel more people should be aware of, by all means, the floor is yours. As well, please let everyone know where they can find more information about you. I'll also include that in the episode description.
Yeah, realizing a game I didn't bring up. Games I don't. Yeah, that actually I could use this. Games that are cool and don't get enough credit and you should try. Home Safety Hotline, Crimson Diamond, Invitationum, Caput Mortem, Metal Garden, The Case of the Golden Idol, and last but not least, Rugrats Adventure in Gameland. If you have not looked at that game, it has like this 8-bit mode. Like it's an indie dev team that made this Rugrats game. I think like came out a year ago or so, and it's just Doki Doki Panic. It's Mario 2, and like it looks beautiful in the 8-bit style. Really easy play. Support your indie devs, and yeah.
Yes, support your indie devs. And thank you for that quick lightning list. I can speak to Rugrats. I enjoyed my time with it as well. And I think other people, give it a shot.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that it seems like not a lot of people did. And, it felt like a Nintendo game. It felt like a Capcom era Nintendo game. So, yeah, more people should play it. More people should check it out. I 100%, of the list you gave, that one I can speak to personally. Definitely check that one out as well.
Yeah. If you want to follow me or any of other cool devs that I recommend, you should follow me, or if you want to follow me, not you should. I'm not commanding you. You can follow me at Loopy Loop at Blue Sky, which is LOOP 3 Ys LUPE Sky. And yeah, just another shout out to all my wonderful coworkers, former coworkers at Abbey Road, and all the wonderful people, friends I work with at IDW, Sonic. You should all support them.
Yes, 100% support the artist for IDW, because IDW, if I remember correctly, is privately owned, or it's not like a big megacorp one. I know they have a lot of titles. I know they have a lot of stuff. Turtles, for example, is the one I'm most familiar with. Sonic as well, I'm aware of. But like, yeah, they're a smaller one. Definitely support them, especially because it supports artists like you, and also support indie games, because indie games, indie game devs and indie games are always some of my favorite people, just because they're always making absolutely wild games that are more often than not going to be wild passion projects or what have you, that we're not going to see from big companies like EA or Ubisoft or any of the others that are just being swallowed up by whomever is swallowing up companies today. I'd have to check the calendar. It's always someone new.
Yeah, and even outside of IDW, like this is a good shout out actually. If you want to support the IDW, my friends IDW Sonic, who have a whole bunch of other personal projects not related to Sonic, then check out Spark Flame. It's a magazine that they put together of like really short anthologies of their own original stories. Finding it right now to get a link, but you can get it on itch. I believe there's other links to places. Like just type in Spark Flame on a Google search and you will find it right away. I don't know if the podcast has links, but check it out. Their work is wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you. It definitely does have links. I definitely do put them in the description. So Spark Flame will be in there for anyone that is interested. They'll be able to check it out because, yeah, that's always an interesting thing, getting to see anthologies that are made and the people behind them, like, again, doing it as passion projects, similar to the zines or what have you, right? Or e-zines or what have you.
Mm-hmm. I'll also pop a link in for Liz Kainkoi, because she is the main lead of Engine Angel. So, and she's an amazing animator and very freaking funny. Sorry. One at the very end, I was doing so well with the swearing.
It is all good. It's been a while since I've had to bust out the censor sound. So, thank you for making me remember how I do this.
I'm the person next to you whispering like the guy next to Julius Caesar. Remember, you're immortal the entire time. Remember, you have your swear button.
But no, thank you. Definitely will include those two, your Blue Sky for you, Spark Flame, as well as the shout out to Liz. I'll definitely make sure that's in the episode description. However, Natalie, if there wasn't anything else, I will definitely let you get on with your evening.
Mm-hmm. I think that's all. I think I can't extend it any further as I keep coming up with new ideas.
Well, by all means, there's always an episode. There's always a round 2 that we could do if you wake up in the middle of the night and have so many other answers. We can always talk about you coming back on for a round 2. So with that, thanks again to Natalie for making. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm saying it's scary round 2.
A scary round.
Back. You don't invite the vampire in. It's a scary prospect.
It's my fault, really. I do leave a welcome mat out. So with that, thanks again to Natalie for making time to have this conversation with me, and thank you for joining us on the Red Tunic Podcast, as well as a special thanks to Roland Jankies for the use of music from the title track from Road Steep. And be sure to check out the episode description for links to socials, websites, and other means that allow you to learn more about or support Natalie and the podcast. And while you're doing that, share, like, follow, whatever else you think makes the algorithm work. Thanks. Till next time.